I do not spoil my grandchildren.
You
No,
don't?
you definitely
Why not?
No,
Why not?
She doesn't.
Because it's not fair to the parents. It is truly not fair to the parents.
Uh-oh, I'm getting some dirty looks here.
I'm Katherine Schwarzenegger Pratt, the host of BDA Baby.
And I'm Maria Shriver, proud mom to Katherine and proud grandmother, aka Mama G, to their incredible kids. The role grandmothers have played has certainly evolved over the years, but one thing that's remained the same is how important they are to all of our families.
It looks different for every family, so we wanted to dive deep into the joys and some of the ups and downs of navigating grandmotherhood and all the life lessons learned in between. Camila Alves McConaughey is a New York Times bestselling children's author and entrepreneur and the founder of the lifestyle website Women of Today.
She's here with her mother-in-law, Kay McConaughey, best known as Mamak, and star on Camila's Instagram page. I love their relationship.
I'm super excited. We spent the whole morning and whole week watching videos of you two on your social media, so I'm so excited to be able to talk to both of you today. Camila and Kay, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for having us. Mamak, if they spend the morning watching videos of us, what do you think of that?
Just go at your own risk. I mean, because there's no editing.
That's for sure. No edit. So what you wanted to know about that?
I loved watching the dynamic between the two of you because, as you said, there were no edits. It's so raw. It's so real. How would you guys describe the relationship between the two of you? Because this is mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, and it's a unique bond.
Well, I'd say our relationship is very loving, but very respectful.
I love that.
That's a very good way to put it, Mamak.
Mhm.
That's a very great way to put it. Let's put it this way. Mamak really tested me when I first
I did.
came into the picture.
Yes. Called her all kind of names. No, I mean, not just people names, not bad names.
Maybe some names in there.
But Camila, I think what's interesting is we hear lots of stories about daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws, and that a lot of people say that that's a really difficult relationship. It's a tough one. So how have you been able to navigate it?
I think that for me, I'm going to speak, from the daughter-in-law perspective,
Okay.
and then you jump in
Yes,
from your side.
yes, indeed.
Okay. So for me, like I say, in the beginning was a bit challenging, right? Because
Yes.
it was, especially Mamak was very, like, okay, this is my zone, my territory, which I think that a lot of mother-in-laws can have that, right? And you come in and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm the woman that it's now the person for your son. And it can get a little tricky. But I think that for me, how I navigated that was, number one was always kindness between us.
Yes.
That was always there. And I think I got to a point where I just had to really show, like, Mamak, that, I deserved her respect.
Yes.
That I deserved, you know what I mean? I had to really put boundaries and speak straight and talk, right, Mamak?
Right.
We had a moment of just,
Yes, we did.
it was like, boom.
Boom, boom. We were at each other.
We were
Yes.
at each other, but not in a way that it was offensive and not in a way that it was disrespectful,
No.
more in a way of like, hey, I respect you, but if you're going to behave that way with me, that's just not how we do things, right?
Right.
And she was kind of letting me know the same thing. And I think the moment that we kind of had that interaction,
Yeah.
I think that's when she went, okay, I love you. Come on in. You're part of the family,
Yeah.
But I needed to really show that. I think it was part of the
Yes.
test that you were
Yes.
putting me
Exactly.
through.
Exactly.
Right? Of like,
Yep.
hey, is she tough enough? Is she strong enough to be part of this family? Is she able to handle pressure?
Yes.
I think that's what you were trying to do.
And then also, whether I knew it or not, I think there were just little shades of jealousy because all of a sudden, I mean, I thought I was like my son's, I mean, kind of main person,
Yeah.
a female person. And then all of a sudden, it's like I'm sharing him with Camilla.
Yeah. I love that you were so honest right there by saying, look at, I was the main woman. And now here
Yes,
came another woman. And all of a sudden I
yes,
had to share my son. And that's such a,
yes,
I have two sons. So that's such a real thing, right? All of a
it
sudden
is.
there's another woman there and you have to drop down.
Yes, you got to know your place, girl.
I know it. Trust me.
I knew my place because I knew that I could not hold that place that I had with him because that's not the way it works. You know what I mean? Now she was going to be the main attraction, and so and it's been just great after that, I mean, there's no animosity, there's no jealousy, and I really love her very much. So if I didn't, then that would be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know.
How do you decide your role when it comes to the grandchildren? What kind of influence do you have? Do you wait for Camilla to ask you for your opinion? Do you interject your opinion? What do you want your grandchildren to take away from you?
Especially if you guys have different parenting styles, because the way maybe you
Yes,
parented your boys is different from the way Camilla is parenting
right.
hers.
One thing that I think it can be a big challenge a lot of times for a daughter-in-law or a daughter or
Yeah,
son, when you have the grandmother around, right? Which is it's amazing, the most beautiful thing. And as cool as like you can
yeah,
be,
yes,
you still know that they're watching,
yeah,
right? Like they're over there, they're kind of
yes,
watching, and it
uh-huh,
can create a little bit of insecurity. I know that
sure.
it took me a moment. Mamac's living with us full time, and it took me a minute to like be like, okay, I could feel it when she didn't necessarily
Agree,
agree
agree, yeah,
with the method that we
yeah,
were using,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or how we were going about certain
uh-huh,
things.
yes,
And it took me a moment to then try to separate that, to go, okay, well, that's how she did it, that's
yep,
her opinion, I
yep,
have to be solid on my ground. But what it helped a lot was I would go and talk to her afterwards,
yes,
and I'll go, okay, did you understand? Because a lot of times she will only hear half of the
yeah, that's
story,
true.
only see half of the misbehavior,
Yeah,
or only see half of like, well, you're not correcting them kind of thing, right?
yeah,
And we will sit down afterwards.
yeah,
I would, later that day, I'll sit down with her and I go, well, did you understand the situation and what happened and how it happened? And then we will have a
yes,
conversation,
yeah,
open conversation about it. And she would then come in and chime in what she thought, what she didn't. But then it wasn't this weird feeling of me being like, oh, she's
yeah,
judging me, and she's sitting over there going, I don't have a say so with the grandkids.
yeah.
So I think dialogue is a really, really
Keep the
important thing.
lines of communication open. It's so, so important to keep those lines of communication open, and because sometimes they can build up and then resentment starts in,
Yeah.
whereas I don't, if we ever had it, I don't remember, okay, because our relationship, I think, is, is unique, and it's just charming. I would say
But I
charming.
like what Camilla was saying, though. She said she could feel you. She could
Yes,
feel the
yes,
way you were looking at how she was handling a situation. And that's a lot. I sometimes worry about that with you. Like I don't want to look over there. I don't know like quite what to do or how to solve a situation.
But I think
Or,
that happens a lot with in-laws, is that
yeah,
they, you feel that presence of them and you want them there and you want them to be around. But also if you choose to do things differently. But I love the fact that you
yes,
decided to take that and have communication around that, which I think a lot of people
yes,
don't know
yeah.
to do that. Like it would have never dawned on me to then go after the fact and go talk or connect with the person.
yeah,
Where did you
yes.
learn, Camilla, where did you learn to do that? Because that's such a
Yeah.
advanced way of maintaining your relationship with your mother-in-law.
I think that for me, I just have a personality that I can't hold things in. Like if I'm upset, you're gonna know. I can't lie, you're gonna know. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't really keep things
Yeah,
in.
Mm.
Um, I'm really against, as Mamak was saying, building up resentment
Mhm.
in our lives. I think that building up resentment, it's really unhealthy for anybody, and I don't think it gets us anywhere, right? So I'm very much of like, okay, if I'm feeling in a way, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, right.
Even if I'm wrong or if I'm out of line,
Yeah.
or even if it's just me feeling that way, but it's how I feel. So let's talk about it.
Yes. And I'm open, and I feel the exact same way, yeah,
Yeah, because a lot of times when you keep
keep it in.
you keep it in, and all of a sudden it's something very small. It
Yeah,
starts to
that
feel like
blow.
so big, and then a lot of this little
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
happened, and that little thing happened, that little thing happened. All of a sudden you're blowing up, and you don't even know why you're
And
blowing
you're
up.
blowing up over something really minor.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you
So
let it go.
I don't know. I think maybe this you taught me this though, like us in our relationship, it's something that you taught me, because I do come from a family. My family's not going to like that I'm going to say this right now,
But
but
they won't hear it. And I'll never tell.
but they're more like, they hold on to things a bit more.
Yes.
So maybe to answer your question, maybe I'm just figure out as we're talking here, maybe that's where I learned from, the fact that they keep things in and they bring up later,
Yeah.
things from like 10 years ago.
It builds up and you go, where did that come from?
And they kind of
Yeah.
don't let it go of things as good. And Mom Mac had taught me to turn the page.
Turn the page.
Girl, just turn the page.
Camila,
Yeah,
what
it
have
is.
you learned from Mama there about parenting? What have you learned from her that you've brought into your own parenting? And what have you learned from your daughter-in-law?
She might say I knew it all. Again, this whole idea of turn the page, not holding grudges, I think it's a big thing that Mamak forgives herself
Easy.
easier and
Yes.
faster than anyone I have ever met in my life.
Absolutely.
She does, she'll feel bad for like a second. Well, and I feel bad if if I like said something to somebody like a bit more direct. It wasn't even rude, but it was like a bit direct. I'm like, I was rude to that person, Mama.
I can have something that I've done, but boy, when I go to bed, but when I wake up, it's like, what's the matter? I mean, I've already forgiven myself, so let's go. I mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I
So
am good
I'm
at
still
that.
working on that one. But by watching her doing
Yeah.
I think it's inspiration. And then, with the kids, the kids watching her not hold grudges, watch her have, this joy for life.
Yes. I do.
This big joy for life and appetite for life. She takes really good care of herself, which inspires, the kids and us, seeing, how she eats, how she exercises. She's doing Pilates 5 days a week, and the kids get in there and do it with her.
Yeah. And no stressing.
No stressing,
stressing.
like really not stressing the small stuff.
Yep.
Or the big stuff. She doesn't stress much.
No, because that'll get you. Stress will get you faster than anything, But it's all about loving yourself and taking care of yourself, and then you're a better person for the people that you love.
Did you feel like that when your kids were little? You had no stress. You loved yourself. You turned the page. It was, you forget.
Yes. Yes. I have to say, but my kids, I mean, I had one, and then 10 years later I had Patrick, and then 7 years later I had Matthew. So my life as a mother with my kids was not normal, because there was never conflict between the boys. Okay, there never was.
Wow.
So they didn't compete with each other.
Because they were so apart, right?
Yeah, so much apart.
So
I had it. It was easy, and but to this day, I have to tell you that I was a disciplinarian. I mean, if I said something, you're not going to talk me out of it. Okay, I'm going to stick with it, and I'm consistent. I follow up. And that's a big thing that sometimes parents don't follow up. They say something and they think that, oh boy, well, the kids got it. No, 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 no. I would ask my kids, so what did I say? And they would say to me what I said. And I said, okay, so you understand, right?
Do you do
And
that with
so
the
that's
grandchildren? Do you do that with the grandchildren?
no, I do not. I do not get into the way that they are disciplined. I do not.
Sometimes,
What is it like when she does get involved?
here and there.
Oh,
Well, for me, I try to give her, hey, you're their grandmother.
yeah, I can say something if
Like if it gets to a situation where
yeah,
she's having to jump
in,
in and take care
you're
of a
okay with that.
situation,
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
yeah,
She's the grandmother. She has all the right to do it. Obviously, if things go a bit overboard, I have to
yeah,
jump
yeah,
in.
yeah. You're right, right,
I have to
right.
jump in, but I give her the time to have that
Yes,
space. But you are very strict on
yes,
certain things. So
yes.
if it gets a bit,
Yep.
a bit too much, then I'll just jump in, let her
Yeah,
say, but then I'll jump in and smooth the situation out. And then if I have to talk to her later, I do. If I have to talk to the
yeah,
kids
yeah.
later, I do. But
I'm
I
really
don't jump
interested in Camilla saying, I you're the grandmother, so I let you have your say. So often I
Yes.
hear all of your friends saying, I have boundaries with my mother-in-law. She
in.
cannot
Oh,
say this or she cannot get involved in that or
Look at her face.
yeah,
She's shocked.
Oh my
I know.
gosh.
Was that a
That's
conversation that you
awful.
guys
that's
had,
awful.
that you agreed on, like that style, or no?
no, I think
No.
that's just my background. Like, growing up in Brazil, like my grandmother was
Ah,
very present in my life.
yeah.
Like my grandmother was a blessing in my life. So, and growing up in Brazil, your grandparents have a lot. They're very, um,
Verbal.
yeah. As in you respect what they say. What they say goes,
Yeah.
right? Growing up. But my grandma she was very, very present in my life. We were very close, and so for me, I want my kids to have that respect, and I think it's important for kids to understand that, hey, it is generations before you that they have knowledge. Like, yes, as parents, we know more about our kids, but the grandparents, they they have more wisdom. It helps kids be well-rounded, and I think it's important to show respect for grandparents. I think it really truly
Hmm.
is.
Yes, I do too.
Oh, would you think that?
I do too.
Hey, what do you want
Yeah,
your grandchildren to take away from you? What do you want them to say about your involvement in their lives?
that I that I was joyful. That I was fun to be around. All of them, I want them all to think of their Mamak. That's what they all call me. And I want them to think of me as being joyful and fun to be around.
You always stereotypically you hear about these horror stories between daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws,
Oh,
and
yes, yes,
they come with a lot of
yes,
negative stories, a lot of negative feedback, and oftentimes when people have their first child or even before that, there's a boundary, as we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation. People want to be clear on the boundaries, but it seems like, Camilla, you've always been very respectful of Kay and her presence around you, and also now that you're a mother, a presence around your children. So I think, like, the question of what's the advice you would give to other women who are navigating a mother-in-law role or a challenge there where they want to make it better but they don't really know how.
Well, I think it's a big difference between boundaries and pushing somebody away,
hmm,
Mm.
right? And I
yep,
think
big,
I think if you're dealing with anything like that, you really need to pause and think about it. Am I putting boundaries, or am I completely, kind of making this person feel like she's not welcome,
hmm,
she's not part of it, and I'm pushing this person
yeah,
away?
Well said.
And I think that's where a lot of the friction starts, because if you think about it, as Mamak said earlier on our conversation, when I first came in, she, and you shared too, Maria, that, hey, we have to come down,
Yeah,
right, from position that you're
yeah,
in. And that's a big thing. That's
yeah,
hard.
yeah,
That's hard. As
yes,
mothers now, we're like, oh, it's gonna happen to me one day,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's like it's a hard thing. So number one, I have to understand and have compassion for that.
mm.
That's number
yeah,
one. then as we talked earlier, you do have to put your boundaries.
Yep.
But put boundaries in a healthy way.
Yes.
Whatever that is. For me and Mamak, the way that she communicates, can I say this?
Yeah.
Are you going to be upset if I say this?
I don't know. You have to say it first.
But, she communicates with conflict. Right? Would you say
I don't mind
that?
conflict.
She doesn't mind conflict at all.
No.
I can't stand conflict.
Yes.
But I had to communicate in her way. That's when we say that we went,
Yeah, we went at it.
at each other, because that's how she understood that, hey, we're going to be on this together, but this is my boundaries and I understand your boundaries.
Yep.
So putting boundaries are important, but the minute you do that, you have to welcome them in.
Yes.
To be part of the kid's life, be part of your life. Because if you just put boundaries, then how is the other person going to feel? If somebody did that to you, think about it. If somebody's just putting boundaries, nope, we're not doing this, nope, I can do this, then you sit there going,
no, with no conversation, with no dialogue, just boy, this is the way it's going to be. And oh my gosh, that would be terrible. No,
it doesn't work. And two more things that I think is extremely important. Number one, it's communication.
Yep.
You gotta have the communication. You just have to be able to talk to each other. But number two is that so many of the women that have problems with their mother-in-laws, it's because they gave up a bit too early. So they have a situation, they have a problem, and they just go, I can't deal with it, or I tried, or this didn't work out. And eventually we all got to get to the point that this person is in my life forever. No matter what.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Anytime that we got upset at anything, we
talked
talked about it.
We did.
We talked about it. And she doesn't like to talk about it. I do.
Yes.
But that's my boundary.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I know you don't like to talk about it, but I need to talk about it.
Okay, then we will.
So she said, she's like, okay, good.
We will.
Turn the page, girlfriend. Done. Like, okay, you know. So I think it's just don't give up. Don't give up so early, because that relationship with your kids and that wisdom that the kids are going to get, it's priceless.
Yes, it really is.
Your husband, did he feel caught in the middle ever? I have 4 brothers, and very often sons will say, like, oh my God, my mother, my wife, I'm caught in the middle. My wife wants to do this with the kids. My mother wants to do that. I don't know who to support. Oh my God, what a nightmare.
I think that, in the beginning, we might had a little bit of that, because I don't think I was being proactive enough to handle the situation. And it was not a good place to be, and it was not a place that I wanted to be in, and it was not a place that I wanted to put my husband in. And it was not a place that I'm like, the kids, I'm like, this is not okay. So I think we had some situations like that, but we got through it pretty quickly. Because again, instead of being just sitting in the corner quietly building up the things, it's more like, what can we do about it?
I don't think that she and Matthew, I don't know, but I'm thinking not that she and Matthew had a lot of conversations about, I don't know what we're going to do with Mamak. Oh, she drives me crazy. So I would have heard it. Matthew would have come to me and said, Mom, you need to start thinking differently. Okay. It's not working with Camila, or vice versa. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question. My brother just got engaged, and this is your first daughter-in-law,
right,
that you will be having come into your family. Was there something that you did, or maybe that you would recommend to do, to kind of set the tone of the level of importance of a parent or a family dynamic before you do get married?
Oh, good question.
Thanks.
That is a good
for you. Oh, it's for me. Thank you. Okay.
I'm just curious.
What I told all 3 of my boys when they got married: keep those lines of communication over and learn to compromise. Learn to compromise. You're going to have to do it. And I think that's one way to settle things. If you just try to compromise, that's a big word.
Yeah.
Compromise. you know.
But what about spending time together?
Well, I I wait until I'm invited, and I always say yes.
Aha. See? I always, with Katherine and her husband, they always invite me, but I wait to be
Yes,
invited. And I also try to
yes,
gauge, am I around too much? Do they have their
yes,
privacy?
yes.
I try to
Yeah,
make
I'm
sure.
overdoing it. Yes,
Do you do
yeah.
that too?
No, because I don't overdo it.
Yeah. Okay.
But
But
also,
No, no, no.
you live with them. That's like the dream.
But also, as you know, when you are younger and you have kids
Yes,
and this and that, sometimes life just goes, and sometimes we don't like include, not because we don't want to. It's just,
yeah,
you pull a thousand directions and
yeah.
you don't even realize that maybe 10 days has passed, a week has passed by, or 10 days have passed by. So I also like when the mother-in-laws, sometimes you say, hey, can I come,
yes,
visit? And like, I like to also hear, get an invite and get an invitation to
yes,
do something together.
yes,
And I think that also opens up to the daughter-in-law to feel, oh, she wants to spend time with me.
yes.
Yeah.
Like,
That's nice.
Very good advice. Yes,
Yeah.
that's very good advice. So,
Yeah.
Camilla, I think that one of the things, like you said, you grew up with your grandmother having a strong presence in your life. So, that was something that you wanted for your children. Do you see the friends of your children also including their grandmothers in their lives?
in all honesty, it's a very small group of people that I see really making their grandparents involved in their kids' lives. And I do see a big difference on the kids. I think the kids have more empathy. I think the kids have more understanding. You see how they behave with elders,
Hmm.
um, with people that, you know, have difficulties in life and things like that. I think they have a little secret wisdom in them that a lot of times is not realized that is there. Do you see that, Mama?
Yes. I love to be around my grandchildren because they keep me young, and I really enjoy their company. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to spoil them and send them back. I do not spoil my grandchildren
You
No,
don't?
you definitely
Why not?
no.
Why not?
She, she doesn't.
because it's not fair to the parents.
Mm.
It is truly not fair to the parents.
Uh-oh, I'm getting
Look,
some dirty looks here. I'm getting some dirty looks here.
You always hear the
oh,
parents.
you spoiled them.
Yeah, they
You
go,
spoiled
you
them.
take them to, the toy store, or give them tons of sweets, ice cream, and then here you go, back to your mother.
She does have that too. You both are guilty of that.
Yes.
Both of you.
We're both
Okay.
guilty. But I think I love that you say you think it keeps you young and that
Yes.
it keeps you involved and it gives you meaning in
Yes.
your life. And I think that's the great thing. I feel the same way that it
Yes.
keeps me young. I want to be stronger.
Yes. Yes.
I want to be in
Yes.
shape for my grandchildren.
And think about what it does for a child as well, right? So I think like on our case, for instance, right, Mamak, at the stage that she is now, it's certain things that is like, hey, you go help Mamak to, go get
Yes.
this,
Yes.
go take care of
Yes.
her that
Yes.
way, go do this. And they have to, that understanding of like, oh, the world is not circling around me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't, like I gotta go
Yes.
take care of
Yeah.
somebody
And
else.
you do that. Yes.
And having a mother-in-law or grandparent in your life is such a blessing because, like you say, when you're so busy and being, if somebody, a grandparent can be with your kids, so you can have a date night, a break, a quiet moment, that is such a blessing.
Yeah.
It's such a
Yeah.
blessing to be able to have that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what you learn from your grandparents as far as empathy, like you mentioned, kindness, and you just learn so much about also life that you can't
Right.
learn anywhere else. You learn all of that wisdom from a grandparent. I learned so much of that from grandma, so it's
Yeah.
such a huge gift.
And kindness is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. What does it take to be kind? Nothing.
I love that. I couldn't agree more because I think that's really how we learn about humanity is that we meet
Yes.
people of different ages, we hear different stories of different generations, and we have a
Yep.
different respect and as you were saying, an empathy for people. What does old age look like?
Right.
What does, I always
You're looking at it.
what she
She said
said?
you're looking at it.
How old I am? Do you know how old I am?
Well, I do, but you tell me.
92.
And how do you feel? What's the secret to being that way, that kind of energy, that kind of strength at 92?
Wit.
the main thing is do not stress. Stress will age you faster than anything. And after that, I eat right, I eat clean, and I exercise. So between those three things, there's no telling how old I'm going to get.
And you're in a family, you're in community, you're going to the soccer
Yes,
game, you're going to the ribbon tournaments, you're
right.
cooking, you're doing Instagram videos, you have a good relationship, you're conversing,
Yep.
you're forgiving yourself.
Yes, yes, yes.
You're not
Is she ever forgiving herself?
Yes, she does.
I'm carrying stuff from when I was 9 years old. Now I'm going to turn the page
Yeah.
and like let it
You
Turn
go.
the page, girl.
Turn the page.
Yes, yes, let it go.
Let it go and let it rip, and let your grandchildren see that joy can be at any
Yes,
age. Joy is at any
yes.
age.
Beautiful.
Joy. I love joy. That's one of my favorite words.
What is there something you admire about the other person that maybe you haven't told the other person?
That's fun. I like that.
You know what we do? Anytime that we can, we go and watch the sunset
Yes. It's a beautiful
with a
time.
drink.
Yes.
She has her wine. I have my tequila.
Yes.
And at the end of that, we usually just comes out,
Yes.
appreciation for each other and
Yeah.
what we like about each other.
And I can reiterate, what I admire about Camilla is her calmness. I mean, she's easy to be around because she's calm, and whereas I can be, but I don't want to be. So I'd much rather stir it up a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just
She
a
likes
little
to
bit,
stir
yeah.
up the pot just a little
Yeah,
bit.
but I love her calmness. Yes, she's calming to be around.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
That's so nice.
You showed me a lot of self-love
Yes,
because I and giving credit, because you give yourself a good amount of credit
I
for
do.
things that you've done and things that
Yes.
you have not done.
Yes, and that too.
And I usually do not give myself credit for
You don't.
things at all. And she has challenged me a lot on that.
Yes.
To say,
Yeah.
you don't give yourself enough credit, say it
Yeah.
out loud.
Well, I want
Are
to
you-
tell them what you said. I want to give you credit because you said you don't give yourself credit, Camilla. And I think what you're doing on Instagram and your Women of Today, I give you a lot of credit for what you're doing as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter-in-law, as an entrepreneur, as a woman yourself. But what did you say before we came to do this about her and Matthew?
That you guys seem like not only are you the most beautiful couple to look at, but you guys both seem like you're so connected and into each other all the time and supportive of one another, and how refreshing that is to see all the time. It's such a beautiful dynamic that you guys have, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Now you guys got me teary-eyed here.
That's inspiring. So you inspired this young woman here, and you inspired this older woman here, and so I just want to give you both credit. So bravo.
All right. Well,
thank you for saying that.
Yes.
It's not always perfect. It's a lot of work, but as we say, we'll try.
Yes.
I always say, if one thing that my kids, whatever happens tomorrow, the one thing my kids can, they will always look back and say, my mother really tried. Like, what I mean? She really, truly tried.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that comes from. But thank you for saying that. It's
nice.
very kind.
Very nice. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. You guys were so amazing to talk to. We learned so much. And
In other words, are you telling us it's over?
Yes. Well, we wanted to keep you. We said 30 minutes, so we wanted to be true to our word and let you get.
And then where are you going?
We're not going anywhere.
Where
She's
are you
going back
going?
to her kids. I'm going back.
As long as we're all talking, then why don't you just hang in there?
That's right. That's right. We can turn the page. We wish we were with you guys. You guys look like you're having fun.
So we'll figure out. You two drink wine.
Yes.
Yes.
we will with
You
you.
and me.
Yes.
And we'll
Okay.
we can have a good time together.
Yes. Yes. Do we need to have a contract?
No. We'll have a handshake. We have a handshake. And I've learned so much from you, and I'm going to make sure that all the daughter-in-laws see this.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Prospective
Good.
daughter-in-laws.
I'm going to make sure all of my friends with mother-in-laws see this.
Okay. There you go. That's great.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, for your knowledge, and for your willingness to kind of share this, because I think it's so important. And you've kept your family together, you've kept it united, you've kept kind of the generations together, and you've worked at that. And that is a blessing to both of you and to your entire family. So,
your children.
Great job. Bravo.
Thank you.
Well, we try, right, Mama?
Yes,
we
we
work
do.
at it. It's hard work,
Yes,
but
we do.
but it's well worth it.
Yep.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.